Roll for Crit is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Come roll with us at patreon.com/rollforcrit.
In this Kickstarter preview, we're taking a look at Doomlings. In this game, you are on a faraway planet where the Doomlings are evolving and trying to compete with each other in order to prove they are the best before their planet is doomed and destroyed.
This is a hand management game with some take that and a lot of different cards that you'll be playing from a common deck in order to be the best species you can be. Each player is going to have a gene pool card in front of them with different numbers on it. The gene pool can grow larger or smaller. They start at 5, and that's going to determine your hand size, essentially. The primary cards you're going to be worrying about during the game are these trait cards in this big stack over here. You're going to begin with a hand of 5, and on your turn, you will choose one from your hand and place it into your own personal trait pile. Now, the biggest thing that you need to worry about with these are their point values, because that's how you're going to win. Whoever has the highest score wins, and you can see they each have a different point total in the bottom left corner. So some of them you will play and it'll simply be worth 2 points, and that'll be it. Now you have migratory creatures that you're working with, and the next player goes. But some of them are a little bit more complicated. Some of them have effects with text down here, and those will usually trigger as soon as you play them. So you could play this kidney, which doesn't have a score number printed because its value is equal to the total number of kidneys you have in your pile at the end of the game. So you're going to want more and more kidneys to make that more valuable. Some of them have an action, as you can see here with this A symbol, and they allow you to take certain actions, such as this one, which allows you to steal cards from an opponent's hand. Sometimes you can steal from their trait piles directly, all kinds of shenanigans that you can pull. However, if someone were to, say, steal this card from you later, they would not get to trigger its action ability again. The actions only trigger when you play it directly into your own trait pile. There are a whole bunch of other types of cards, different colors that have different various effects that usually are consistent among those colors. There are also dominant cards. Dominant traits are very powerful, and you are only allowed to have 2 of them at any given time during the game, with some very rare exceptions. So you need to be careful about which ones you pick. Make sure they're going to help you. Often they will have a lot of points, or they might have really good end game effects that'll help your score. At the end of your turn, once you have played your 1 card, then you are going to stabilize. You stabilize according to your gene pool number. So in this instance, I played 1 card, I have 4 cards in hand, I need to stabilize back to 5, so I will draw 1. However, it could happen that you end up with 7 or 8 cards somehow based on various effects, and in that case you would need to discard. Whatever you need to do to match this number in your gene pool, that's how you stabilize at the end of your turn.
Of course, things can't be so simple as just playing cards and getting stronger. You see, at the start of the round, the first player is actually going to draw from this age deck. Now, the very first card is always the same. It's the Birth of Life, which gives a basic ability. But afterwards, you're going to draw from these random age cards. There are more than that's actually in that pile, so it will always be different per game. They'll have weird abilities for that round, which could affect how you stabilize. Maybe you have stronger cards depending on what color they are. But throughout that age deck are catastrophes. These are very bad. They're always negative, and they usually lower your gene pool. They could do some other things. However, if this is the very last catastrophe card, then you're actually going to trigger the World's End. After all, this is Doomlings. You're going to face your doom. This will do one last big effect, usually affecting your score. And of course, you're going to then tally up your score and see who has the most, and it truly was the best in surviving your collective doom.
Some of the cards that we just showed off may be expansion content in the final product. The base game for Doomlings will include 150 unique cards, which is a lot of unique cards. They do not conflict. There are many different traits that you're going to be seeing throughout the game, so every time you play, and even in one game, everybody's going to have some special traits that nobody else has. So it's not like everybody's going to have a flying trait or something. There's a lot of variety to go around. This goes from 2 to 6 players, and it's definitely, I think, geared towards that higher player count and more towards the lighter kind of gameplay for casual players or people who just want something quick that they can enjoy with a big group. If you like games like your Munchkins, your Exploding Kittens, there's different stuff going on in those games, but I think generally in that kind of category.
Yes, you are building up a weird engine, usually depending on what cards you have. You may get things that are like, okay, I'm going to go all in on red because one of my dominant traits is get a point for every red card I have. So it's best for me to stick there. Or maybe you want a variety. There are plenty of different dominant traits for you that really sort of guide you in what you want to do. But of course, you never know what's going to happen with that age deck. That's where a lot of weird things can go on. Like once someone plays a card, everyone gets to play a card or draw a card. And then, of course, when you hit the world's end, it's like, guess what? If you have too many blue cards, you're losing points. You're like, oh. It's not something you're supposed to plan for. I think you're just like, well, that's how the world ended.
Yeah, you can try to plan for it, but it'll be hard because that deck is randomly put together each game, so you really don't know what's going to come out of it. You could try to guess, but it would be tough for you to do that. And yeah, those rule changes are a big thing too. That's sort of where an element comes in, a little bit like the game Flux, but not nearly as chaotic and not nearly as big of a part of it. It's more just like, okay, we're drawing different cards, or we're drawing more cards or fewer cards or whatever it is this round, so we'll see how that goes. But then it's that end of world thing can really shake things up because maybe you, whatever the thing is, you probably did not plan for it. It could make the person who thought they were in first place go to last place if they aren't able to scramble and make that happen again. And the other nice thing about the way the game is paced moving through that deck, unlike, say, Munchkin, which can sometimes go on for a long time, you know when this game is going to end. Even if you're playing with the max of 6 players, you will go through that deck, and then that's going to be the end of the game. So it moves along at a pretty quick pace, especially because usually you're just playing one card a turn. So definitely the kind of game that's good for people with short attention spans like us.
Yeah, pretty much it's up to you to just try to build up an engine, and hopefully you'll score enough points when that world ends to be in the positive.
Right. Yes. And, based on what you're doing, there may be different strategies going on, like we said, trying to get more of a certain color or what have you. But points are always a good thing. And there is, there is take that in this game. So there are ways for you to steal cards from your opponent's hands or their trait piles or things like that. I think it is minimal enough from our experience. If you are someone who really doesn't like take that at all, you might still want to look at this if you like the sound of the rest of it. I don't think it's as harsh and punishing as it tends to be maybe in some other games.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of take that, and I didn't think it was it felt more silly than annoying, like where the entire game. My favorite actually being swapping hands, because then it depends on what's in your hand. That might not be good. And that's more of like a funny thing. And like I said, the age deck has some of those things that might technically fall under take that. But because it's random, it's not like, haha, you're like, oh, I guess we're all passing a card to the left. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And again, it is such a light game that, it's not going to hopefully bother you too much if something like that happens to you. You can just set up and play another one pretty quickly. If this sounds like fun to you, it's a cute little theme with silly artwork, fast playing for ages low to high, perhaps. That's how you say that. It's called Doomlings, and that's going to be on Kickstarter. You can check our description below for a link to take a look at the cards in depth, find out exactly what you're going to be getting, and see if you decide to back this one or not.
Let us know before Doom comes for us all. I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this is Roll for Crit.
Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and support us on Patreon. That would make us happy.
Maybe the next video is the one where Jonathan does a silly dance.